Alright, so in this lesson today, we are going to make a basic template for a website, and I want you to experiment with this in the simple project of filling this out. I'm going to make it for me, but you can make this website for whatever you want. Don't feel like you have to match me again. If you want to make this website about your favorite video game, your favorite TV show, your favorite movie, that's perfectly fine. You're going to need to find a lot of digital assets to kind of do this right anyway. So do something that you're into here. Don't feel like you have to stick on what I'm doing exactly. The template we're going to make is going to look like this. It's going to have the name of whatever you're doing. So if you want to do Enter the Spider-Verse, you know, up here. My 4 pages are going to be named Home, About, Portfolio, and Contact. But if you want to do 4 different pages, if you want to say this is the characters of this world, or this is the maps of this world, or whatever you want to put here is perfectly fine. So with that said, what we're going to create today is an interactive PDF. A lot of people like to use InDesign kind of like PowerPoint almost, where you get to make detailed slides and things that you can kind of move around with. So for an example of what this is going to be the PDF that we have. And if I were to, you know, full screen this or put it on a projector and do it in a presentation mode, I would be able to click on these buttons and I would be able to move page to page. Now, at the end of the day, this is just 4 separate pages set up. So if I kind of go to my pages and look, I can see my 4 separate pages right here. But I can build this in kind of a website type way, which is neat. And we're going to also talk about master pages today. So if you look up here in your pages panel, I'll have an option that says A Master. Now, if I go clicking on Home or About or try to select anything up here, I can't because of the page I'm on. The only thing I can select is this Home icon. That's because everything's been done on this A Master. And this A Master is basically a template page for all the rest of your pages. For example, if I turn this whole area right here into black, if you look carefully right here on the pages, you'll see when I change it on one master, it changes on all of those pages. So this is kind of a neat way of designing multiple things without having to do it multiple times, right? So let's go into this. I want you to hit File, New, Document inside of InDesign, please. I want you to name this your name -PDF, and we're going to keep it the same size that we've been using. Just 8.5 by 11 letter size is fine. The only thing different, and again inches instead of picas, the only thing different is we're going to do a landscape orientation like this. I want to make sure facing pages is unchecked. That'll put pages beside each other, and I kind of want them to stack vertically here. And we're going to need 4 pages in total. Okay. I'm also going to mark columns. I'm going to push that up to 3, and I want you to respect the columns as best you can as you start to design this on your simple project. And I'm going to hit Create. Alright, so this is my basic page setup. And as you see, it jumps you right into pages where you can scroll up and down like this. If I do something here, if I create that single black box on that page, you see on the Pages panel that it only happens on page 1. If I move down 2 and 3, they're not getting that black box. Now, instead of me sitting here and designing, designing each one of these buttons and backgrounds and colors on every single one of these pages, we're going to do it on the A Master page. Now, one of the biggest problems is understanding where you are. Now, if you see right here, I've got the 1 highlighted, it's blue. If I scroll down to 2, it still stays on page 1. So it's a little hard to tell what page you're on, especially when they're blank. If I double click right here on this white box next to your A Master, it'll select that A Master, and you'll notice you won't be able to scroll down any. So if you're only seeing one page in a multi-page document, you're probably on that master page. Additionally, if you look in your Pages panel, you'll notice that there's this little letter A above each one of these pages. You can have multiple master pages. So you could have a B master, a C master, so that this page looks like this, but these 500 pages here look like this, whereas these 200 after that look like this. It's up to how you want to do it. Alright, so most of what we're doing here are just simple rectangles. So I'm going to get the rectangle tool, and I'm going to create a rectangle at the top. Don't feel like you have to match these margin lines perfectly, but I do want it to go to the edge of the page. Pick whatever color you want it to be. If you want, orange or green, whatever, knocks your socks off. I want it to cover a good little chunk at the top, but I don't want it to cover too much. Look at that margin line as kind of your middle spot. And when you've got that, I'm going to copy and paste that down here. And I want this box just to hit that margin line. That's where my footer is going to go. Alright, now if you're watching carefully in your pages, every time you add something new, you'll see it adds on every single page that you have. If you had 1,000 pages, it would have 1,000 pages with these green boxes. I'm going to make a text frame. I'm going to type my name in here. Again, feel free to use whatever font you want to use, whatever style you want to use, and whatever subject matter you want to use. Don't feel like you have to use your name here. I'm going to place that up here. That's going to kind of be my header. I'm going to make another one underneath it. Graphic designer. I'm going to go to Futura again. This time I'll do a medium italic. I'm going to push it up just a little bit. And I'm just going to offset these so that they're not kind of like on top of each other. There we go. Alright, so just little touches of what you want it to be up there. Feel free to experiment. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a text frame, and I'm going to call this Home. Sticking on that same Futura. And we'll pump that size up. Alright, so the trick to this is kind of making your frames the size that you need them to be. So if I've got it extra large like that just had, like this, if you double click on the corners, it'll shrink that for you. Now I want it a little wide. I don't want it quite on top of it, but I do want it flush at the bottom and top. So if it's like that, double click. Alright, so I need to center this text. There it is, my paragraph panel, centered, like that. Alright, so once you've made one, you can just duplicate this over. I'm going to make this frame just a little wider. There we go. I'm going to duplicate this over, leaving a little bit of a gap between it and the one to the side. I'm going to call this About. Duplicate over. Again, you notice those smart guides, use those. See it right there. It's not giving it to me. Portfolio, and that's just a collection of all of your work. So typically if we were in class right now, I would have you digging up all your old assignments that you had done with me and putting them here. And spaced out, I'm going to call this one Contact. Alright, so that's my basic setup. And to align these a little better, because I didn't get those greens, I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to go to my Align options, and this option right here will kind of make sure there's an equal spacing between all of those setups. And you can use your other alignment tools to make sure they're aligned. Alright. Down at the bottom, I'm going to add another text frame. Be careful, the reason you see me constantly making text frames in the middle here is I don't want to accidentally turn this into a text frame. Just like the last lesson, if you click on a rectangle and you see that circle, it'll turn that rectangle into a text frame. And that, I mean, that can work sometimes, but I just prefer not to. It's just cleaner to me not to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick copyright. And I'm going to put, the year. I'm going to find the copyright symbol in just a moment. All rights reserved to me. A quick note on copyright in general. If you make something, a digital something, you automatically get a copyright on it. So it is technically yours. Check your glyphs, window glyphs. If you don't see that, that's where I'm going to find the copyright symbol. You don't necessarily have to put this on anything that you create. I just find it a little smarter and safer too. But anytime you create a digital asset, it actually gets time-stamped when you created it. So if somebody were to ever try to sue you and say, hey, that's mine, that's not yours, you can prove who made it first or who had it first based on the timestamp of when it was created. So you do get some copyright protection immediately when you create something. And it's true for almost anything that's digital. There are limits and there are time constraints on how long you have that copyright, but just as a heads up. Alright, so this is our A master and I want to get out of it. So to get out of it, I just need to click on any one of these other pages. So I'm going to click right here on page 1. It won't look like anything's changed, but if you scroll down, you'll see that you have multiple pages. Alright, so to avoid confusion, at least for right now, I want to make one box in the middle, and I'm just going to call each page what it is so that I don't get confused as to what page I'm on, because that can happen pretty quickly. This is just something that we're going to leave up here for a moment, and when you start designing each page, you can get rid of this because it's not going to be needed on each page once you have some content, but we don't have any content at the moment. So I'm just going to add this onto each one of these pages so that I can tell at a quick glance which one's which. And like I said, because they're temporary, they don't have to, be spelled right or whatever. Alright, so now as I scroll through, I can tell what page I'm looking at. Now we're going to start looking at the interactivity of this and making this actually functional. So if I go back here, there's a trick behind moving page to page, and it's that we have to identify what page is what with a bookmark. So we have to say that this page is the contact page, this page is the about page. We can see it because of this text in the middle, but how does the system see that, right? If you look at my original design here, I've got these weird, get out of the A master, I've got these weird little empty neutral frames in the bottom right corners. They're there, they're invisible, you can't see them. What they are my little bookmarks for what page equals what. So we're going to need to create those first. This can happen on any frame on the page, but currently, aside from that one in the middle, I don't have any frames that I can click on this page. I can't click up here because it's all on the A master. I can't edit home, about, portfolio because that's all done in this A master. So I have to create a frame here that I can work with. Now if you had content here, you could link this bookmark to any of that content, but we don't have that at the moment. So let's go down to the bottom right of your page, and I want you to make just a simple little neutral frame. So F for frame, and just create a neutral frame right there. This is invisible, nobody will see it except for you in this view. If I hit W on my keyboard, that frame disappears, okay? So I'm going to have it selected. I want to make sure that I'm clicked on it. Get your black arrow and click on it. And we need to find a couple of panels that we don't have open. So I want you to go to Window, Interactive, and click on Bookmarks. Now when you click on Bookmarks, it should open buttons and forms too. If it doesn't, we need both of these. Okay, so we're going to start right here in this bookmark panel, and you'll notice that the panel is very blank. There's nothing there. Make sure again you've got that selected, and right here you'll see a plus symbol. I want you to click on that, and with that selected, I want you to type in the name of that page. So I'm on my home page. I'm going to call this bookmark Home, and it'll mark that spot. Now again, nothing looks like it happened, but you'll see where that comes into play in just a moment. So I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not going to copy that frame. I'm going to create a new one every time because I don't want it to bring in that bookmark, and it can be any size you want it to be. So on the About page, I've created a neutral frame, and I'm going to call that About. I'm going to scroll down to the Portfolio page, make another neutral frame, call that Port. And on the Contact page, I'm going to create another one, and I'm going to call that Contact. Alright, so that gives me my 4 separate bookmarks. Each one of these little spots in the corner is a bookmark, and you'll see why that's important in just a moment. So now I want you to get your black arrow and go back to your Pages panel, and we want to go back to the A master right here. I'm going to double click on that. Alright, so now we need to make our actual buttons function. So these are our buttons, and we need to tell them what to do. Our bookmarks are going to say where the buttons go. So each bookmark says this is that page. Now we need to make the buttons functional. So I'm going to click on Home right here, and it's going to give me an option for type. That's the first thing. So I want to make it a button. And you'll notice there are other options here that you can kind of play with. But button's what we need to use for this. It's going to ask me what the name of this button is. Call it what it is. It's the Home button. On release or tap is what I want to keep. There are some other options, like if you just hovered your mouse over it and it would change pages. You wouldn't even have to click. On actions, I want to hit plus, and again you see all these different options. I want to go to destination, the first one. It needs to know what document, because you could create buttons that opened up or went to multiple documents if you wanted to, which is kind of a neat little play. Destination is where the bookmarks come in. You'll notice these are the names of the bookmarks that you made. So home needs to go to home. I'm going to leave the inherit zoom on, but again these are different options you could play with on how it would present that page. And there are options for appearance, like rollover is if I put my mouse over it, maybe the font changes color or the box lights up a different color. You can play around with that as you would like. Feel free to tinker with it. You don't have to keep it as simple as I am. Remember, you are designing your own version of this to finish. Alright, so that gives me my home button. I'm going to repeat that same process for my other buttons. I'm going to click on About. I'm going to name it, I'm going to turn it into a button. I'm going to name that button About. On release or tap, go to the About page. Awesome. And just keep that going. So button, rename that button again. This is my portfolio button, or just port. Go to destination, and it needs to go to port. Click on contact. That's my last button. And again, because we're doing this in the master page, it's going to automatically update every page, and every page is going to see these buttons, and every page is going to function with these buttons if we do this right here. Alright, so those are my 4 buttons. So if I go to pages here and I go back to home, it's not going to look like anything different. It's going to look the exact same. But if you're in your master page, you'll notice that you end up with a little bit weird, you get a little bit more of a weird dashed line around these instead of the box. That shows you that they are buttons at this point. And we just need to experiment to make sure this is correct. So go back to page 1, your home page. And this week I'm not going to get you to give me a screenshot. I'm going to have you send me this PDF that we're about to create. And this PDF will be the kind of template to make sure everything works. If we've got everything working at this point, then you can move on to designing this however you want as your simple project. I'm going to want a PDF for this assignment and for your simple project. So mark how to do this. So I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to hit File, Export. And this time, instead of Adobe Print, I'm going to choose Adobe PDF Interactive. Interactive means you can click on things and things move. If it's print, it's just going to be a piece of paper. So Interactive, and save it to your desktop or wherever you're saving your work, and hit Save. One thing I would recommend is clicking this View after exporting so you can see what's happening. And then just hit Export. No need to mess with any of the rest of this. Alright. So if we did this right, when you click on About here, it should say About. When you click on Portfolio, Contact, it should move page to page. And you'll see right here that it's changing the page as you click. So make sure that yours is functioning. If yours is functioning right here, then this is the file I need you to turn in. Go to your desktop, shrink out everything, go away. Alright, so go to your desktop, find your PDF right here, and submit that into today's classroom. That'll be your final. Now, as far as your actual simple project this week, your simple project is to take that template and turn it into a fully functional website. Your home page should have information and multiple images on it. Feel free to experiment with that text wrap, have things move around your images. Find articles online. I don't care if you're finding them on Wikipedia or just Googling random information, that's fine. Make that website about anything that you're into, your favorite video game, TV show, movie, artist, whatever floats your boat. But I need 4 pages I need them to have content on the whole page. I need you to find articles, and I need you on the contact page to just add some junk contact information. It doesn't have to be, complicated. It doesn't have to be real, but it needs to look real. That's going to be the key to that. So it's up to you how you do this, what you do with it, and how it looks as a total. This is your kind of website to play around with, right? All right, if you've got all that, turn your PDF into this week's assignment under Lesson 2. Under your simple project, you're going to need to export that same PDF in that same way with the finalized work on it for your simple project. All right. I hope everybody's doing well out there. I hope you're not losing your heads in these houses. I'm losing it. It's going to be all right. All right, next week is our last week. I'm going to throw another design challenge at you like I did the Poetry in Motion. We're going to keep it simple, and we're just going to go out easy, right? All right, guys. I miss y'all. Take care.